I've just jumped ahead in this tutorial a little bit to the end, just so that I can explain a little bit about navigating around your model and things in 3D space. So hopefully we're going to shoehorn this bit into the beginning of the video somewhere, and it'll all make sense, seamless. Okay, so we're looking at this vase that we're going to make today. And you'll see me in the video sort of spinning this around and things. You might be wondering, what's he doing, what's going on. So I've got a 3-button mouse here. Okay, so left, ordinary mouse, yeah. So a left button, a right button, and a scroll wheel. So the scroll wheel is our 3rd button as well. We can zoom in and out of a model by rotating that wheel. Okay. Obviously in and out. Now where the cursor is pointing when you're doing that is important, because if I have my cursor near to the top of the vase, that's the point I'm going to zoom into. If I have my cursor near the bottom, that's where I'm going to zoom into. Okay, so wherever you're positioned. And I use that quite often just to sort of move from one side to the other, screw out of there and into there. To rotate the model, if you hold down the Shift key and hold down the mouse wheel, so use the mouse wheel as a button, hold it down and the Shift key at the same time, and then you'll be able to drag and rotate the model that way. Okay. If you've ever zoomed in and rotated and you've lost your bearings and you've no idea where you are, at the top here, if you hit the home button, it will always bring it back to that location. Okay, so it will zoom to fit in the middle of the screen and it will rotate it so that you're looking at it in an isometric direction. Okay. This cube as well, you can actually left click on the cube, you can drag the cube and that'll help you to rotate your model. You can actually click on the faces of the cube and it will turn to face that face. Okay, or if I wanted to go 90 degrees to the left here, I could click this little arrow and it would change, it would do that. I could actually rotate it about that axis as well if I wanted to. But if I hit the home icon, it'll always go back to that position. We've also got some things along the bottom here which do basically the same thing, so I could click on this orbit button if I wanted to. Now when I left click I can rotate, and I'm going to press escape on my toolbar, on my keyboard, sorry, to get out of there. We've got hand as well that we could use to pan around. Okay, we've got the zoom tool. If I left click now and zoom in and out, these are I don't use these, to be honest, because it's so easy just to use the mouse. Also zoom to fit you have in there. Okay, and some other things like display settings and displaying the grid, etc. We'll hopefully get into stuff like that in future videos. So I hope that helps when you're working along with me making this vase. I think what we're going to do is dive straight in and make something. Okay, but just before we do that, we do have to do just a couple of things, words of explanation. Now on the left hand side here we've got this data panel where we'll be able to sort of create files, folders, etc. And we can hide that by clicking on this hide data panel button just in the top left. So if your screen's a bit small, that will give you a bit more space to work. What we're looking at here then is our 3D modelling environment. Okay, we can't actually see anything in there, but on the left hand side we have a folder there. If you click on the little eyeball, switch the visibility of that folder on and we can expand the little arrow and we can see what's inside there as well. So we've got an origin, we've got 3 axes, we've got 3 work planes. Okay, so I'm just going to collapse that and hide those again. So we're going to create something simple, a vase. We're just going to draw a profile, and then we're going to spin it around an axis. So the first thing we need to do is to click on our create sketch button. Okay, so in our toolbar on the top here, on the very left, there's our create sketch. So to sketch, we need something flat to sketch on. You know, we only have 3 work planes to start with, so it's going to have to be one of these 3. I want the vase to set vertically in here, so I'm going to click the front work plane. Okay, because we want to draw the sort of the silhouette of the vase on there. So you notice when I clicked on it, it actually rotated now so that I'm actually facing directly down onto the sketch. Okay, so we're looking at the sketch perpendicular or normal to. Okay, and we can actually see there's the origin in the middle of the sketch. So we're going to draw the outline. To do that, I'm going to use a line tool. So you'll notice some changes here. Actually, there's this box on the right where we can switch the visibility of things on and off. Along the top here, our tools have changed as well. So we've got some drawing and sketching tools along the top here. I'm going to draw the sort of top, the bottom of this vase, an axis to spin it around, and then the sort of outside silhouette of it. So we'll start by drawing some lines. So click on the line tool. You'll notice that my cursor's changed. I've got a little symbol on the end on my cursor that says, you know, I've got the line tool active. When I hover over the origin, I get this little blue box that's telling me it's snapping to the origin. So this line's going to be attached to the origin. Okay, and also when I approach horizontal here, you'll see there's another blue symbol that appears. It's telling me that that line is going to be constrained to be horizontal. So if I click there, if I continue clicking, I'm going to get a chain of lines, which isn't what I want. So I need to click on the green tick to finish drawing that line. So this line, you can see that little symbol there, is telling it this is constrained to be horizontal. I'm going to draw a vertical line then. So again, you know, we're constraining it there to the origin. And when I approach vertical here now, you'll see a little symbol at the origin there that's telling me that this is going to be constrained to be perpendicular to that first line. And then I'm going to draw a line that represents the top of the vase. And again, you can see that constraint there is telling this line that it has to be perpendicular to the vertical line. Okay, and now I'm going to click the green tick. So I just need to connect these two together with an interesting shape, and to do that we're going to use the spline tool. So our fit point spline tool is at the top here. This is going to be a series of points and the sort of best fit line through those points. So we do need it to be attached to this because this does need to be an enclosed profile. So I'm going to click on that line on the end. You can see that little blue square comes up. So I'm going to click there. Maybe 2 sort of intermediate points, and you can see how that line now is being is fitting through those points. Okay, and then we're going to snap it to the top, and I need to tell it that I've finished drawing my spline. Okay, because if I keep clicking, it's just going to add more and more points. So we're going to click on the green tick to finish that spline. And straight away I've done that, you notice the inside of this has turned blue, and that's basically showing me that it's an enclosed profile. There are no gaps between the ends of the lines. That's important because we want to turn this, spin this around to create a solid object, and if there was gaps in the end between the ends, that wouldn't happen. On the right hand side here, you know, we have a tick in this show profile tick box. So if that wasn't ticked, you wouldn't see the profile in any case. I guess that's quite useful if you want to know if it's if the ends of your lines are joined, etc. Okay. So I need to exit my sketch. Okay, so what we need next is a tool to actually spin this around, and it's not visible to us while we're in this sketch environment. So if you see, if you're in any doubt whether you're in the sketch, well, firstly you're going to see the sketch tools on the top here. We've got a finish sketch button here, and we've also got a finish sketch button down there. So I'm going to click that. It's turned it back again to be sort of an isometric view, so I'm looking at it in sort of a 3D view, if you like. So the next thing we need to do is to spin it round. So in this solids toolbar, we've got this revolve button. It's picked up already that I want to use that profile. If it hadn't, I could pick it myself. So basically what these are, when these are blue, they're waiting for an input, they're waiting for us to select something. So to tell it what the profile is, I can click on the profile. I'll then need to switch to the axis select button, because I need to tell it which axis it is. So if I pick a straight line, it will spin it around that straight line. In this case though, we obviously need the vertical axis. And then I'm going to click OK. So we've just created a solid model. Obviously that's not much good as a vase. We can actually cut through this as well. Okay, if we want to prove that it was solid inside, we could choose the section analysis tool and choose a plane to cut through. We can actually see inside that it's solid. I'm going to cancel that though. So we need to hollow it out. To do that, we're going to use the shell tool. So this little symbol at the top here. I'm going to pick the shell tool. So we're going to choose a face that's going to be removed, and then we're going to also specify what the thickness of the remaining wall is. That probably is a good graphic there to see. Okay, so we're going to choose a face to remove and then specify the thickness of the remaining geometry. So pick that top face, and I'm just going to type 1, so that's going to be a 1 millimeter thick wall. Okay, and I'm just going to OK that. So now we've got a hollow vase. Along the bottom here we can see, we have a timeline that's been built up of how to create this object. So the first thing we did was a sketch, then the revolve, then the shell. And you can edit any of these. So there's a relationship, parametric relationship between them. If I right click, for example, on the shell, I could edit that feature. I could change that thickness, or I can even do it graphically by dragging the arrow. I'm going to leave it at 1 millimeter now. We could modify the revolve. We can edit that feature. Okay, so we might decide we want to spin it down on a different axis. So if I wanted to do that, I would deselect that, spin it around a different axis. Or we could actually change the angle. So we might not want to go all the way around with something. Okay, so we could specify the angle. Obviously we want 360 in this case. Or the initial sketch as well. I can go and edit that sketch. So if I change that sketch, you can see that the model's updated downstream from that sketch. When you're doing concept designs and just playing with ideas, something that's quite useful to be able to do is to switch on the visibility of a sketch. So you get sort of almost real-time modifications of a shape. So you could, if you wanted to 3D print this, then you could make it play around with the shapes of 3D printers if you like. Something like that though is not very 3D printable because you'd need support material to hold up this rim while it's being printed. So you wouldn't really want to go over about sort of 45 degrees, 60 maybe if you're lucky. But something like that, perfectly 3D printable. Okay, so oh yes, well we don't know what size this is because I've just sort of arbitrarily drawn some lines and things, so it might be absolutely huge. So it might be an idea to go back into the sketch. I'm going to edit the sketch and we're going to give it some dimensions. Okay, so we're back in the sketch environment. At the top here we've got the dimension tool. So I'm going to click on that dimension tool. Again, you can see on the end of the cursor it's telling me I've got the dimension tool enabled. I'm going to click on the vertical line once. I'm going to move out to the side and then I'm going to click again to place that dimension. And now it's asking me or waiting for me. I can just simply type into this. So if I wanted it to be 150 high, I'm going to type 150 and then I'm going to press enter. Okay, and this because that was the first dimension in the sketch, it's proportionately scaled the sketch as well. The diameter then, or rather this is going to be the radius because we're spinning it around. Okay, so let's make this maybe, oh I don't know, something like 40, so 80mm diameter, yeah, and I'm going to do the top 60, so 120mm diameter for the top. Again, that profile there wouldn't be very 3D printable because it's so shallow at the bottom here. It would need support material up to about this point. But I'll finish that sketch. So I could start dragging these around if I wanted to make this a bit more 3D printable. Okay, so I think for this tutorial then, we're going to leave it there for now. And good luck with that. And I'm going to scratch my head and think of something interesting to make next by